The day my parents announced that they were giving my sister $10 million felt like someone had punched me in the chest. I couldn't breathe. My name is Emily, I'm 42, and I had spent years quietly building my career, working late nights, sacrificing weekends, only to be told that I had to earn my own way. My sister, Claire, was the golden child. She never really needed to work hard for anything, everything seemed to fall into her lap. Expensive cars, designer clothes, exotic vacations, and now, a multi-million-dollar inheritance. My parents smiled at her like she had achieved the impossible. And me? I got a polite pat on the shoulder and a reminder to be independent. At that moment, I felt a mix of rage, disbelief, and a pang of deep hurt. It wasn't just money, it was the message behind it. My parents made it clear who they favored. They didn't say it outright, but the way they looked at Claire, the way they praised her choices and achievements, even when she barely tried, spoke volumes. And me? I was invisible, expected to survive and prove my worth on my own. I left the dinner table that evening with my head spinning. The air in the house seemed heavier, filled with unspoken comparisons and silent judgments. Claire was laughing with her friends, oblivious to the storm she had ignited. She didn't see me clench my fists under the table, trying not to cry. I wanted to scream, to demand fairness, but something inside me whispered that patience would serve me better than anger. Over the next few days, the unfairness gnawed at me. Everywhere I went, I saw reminders of my parents' favoritism. Emails congratulating Claire on her wise investment decisions, phone calls praising her for charity contributions. All while my achievements, my promotions, and my struggles were brushed aside. But then, a message came that changed everything. Grandpa had always been quietly observant, never one to speak too much, but when he did, his words carried weight. I received a call from him one afternoon. "Emily, I hear what happened at home. Don't worry about the money your sister got. I have something for you. Something she can't even imagine." My heart skipped a beat. Grandpa was the one family member who had always believed in me. His voice had a calm authority that made my worries shrink, even if just for a moment. "What is it, Grandpa?" I asked, my curiosity mixing with suspicion. "You'll see soon. But it won't just be about money, it will be about power, influence, and the respect you've always deserved." The way he said it sent shivers down my spine. I realized, for the first time in years, that maybe this wasn't the end, it was the beginning of something much bigger. That night, I sat in my apartment, staring at the skyline of the city, plotting quietly. The unfairness, the neglect, the blatant favoritism, it fueled a fire inside me. Grandpa's words had ignited hope, but also a plan. I wouldn't just sit back and accept my parents' biased judgment. I would prove them wrong, not just in money, but in power, influence, and control. Little did I know, what Grandpa had planned for me was beyond anything I could have imagined, and it would change my life forever. The morning after Grandpa's call, I woke up with a mix of excitement and anxiety. I knew this was my chance, my moment to prove that I wasn't the overlooked sibling my parents treated me like. But first, I had to be careful. Claire was cunning in her own way, cocky, spoiled, and completely oblivious to the fire she was about to awaken. I ran into her in the kitchen, sipping her third latte and scrolling on her phone. "Emily," she said, smirking, "did you hear? Dad's $10 million gift? Pretty amazing, right? I can't believe you actually have to earn your way. Sounds rough." I forced a calm smile. "Yeah. Lucky you. Lucky me I still have Grandpa looking out for me." Claire tilted her head, puzzled. "Grandpa? Oh, come on, Emily. What could he possibly do for you? He's always liked me best anyway." Her words stung, but instead of reacting impulsively, I let them sink in. This was exactly the type of arrogance I could use to my advantage. While Claire flaunted her inheritance, she was blind to the fact that my grandfather had a plan, one that would give me not just money, but power she could never imagine. That afternoon, I visited Grandpa at his mansion. The sun filtered through the large windows, casting a golden glow over the polished marble floors. Grandpa sat behind his massive mahogany desk, a subtle smile playing on his lips. "Emily," he said, "I'm giving you a stake in a growing company. Not just money, but influence. And more importantly, discretion. If you play your cards right, you'll surpass Claire in ways she'll never see coming." He handed me a folder with detailed plans, contacts, and a small stack of shares. "This is your first step. Learn, observe, and act. But remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And your sister? She's already shown her weaknesses. Use them wisely." I left Grandpa's mansion feeling a mix of exhilaration and determination. Every step I took from that day forward would be calculated. Claire's arrogance was her greatest vulnerability, and my grandfather's guidance was the edge I needed to turn the tables. Back home, I watched Claire through the glass of the living room. She laughed with her friends, flaunting her new sports car and the expensive gifts from my parents. I could almost see the cracks in her armor, her overconfidence, her need for constant validation. And I knew, deep down, that once I made my move, she wouldn't know what hit her. Over the next few days, I threw myself into learning everything about the company Grandpa had entrusted me with. I studied market reports, memorized shareholder names, and even started contacting potential business partners. Every call, every email, every meeting was a step toward not just earning my own success, but quietly outshining Claire in ways she couldn't anticipate. Meanwhile, Claire continued to post on social media, showing off her lifestyle, flaunting her parents' money. Each post fueled my resolve. She was so focused on appearances that she didn't notice the real game was happening behind the scenes, my game. Then came the first subtle signs of resistance. Claire started asking questions about what I was doing, pretending casual curiosity but with a sharp edge of suspicion. "Emily, what are you working on all these days? You're awfully secretive." I smiled innocently. "Just some projects Grandpa suggested. Nothing exciting yet." Her frown betrayed her. She was starting to realize that I wasn't as helpless as she assumed. That little frown lit a spark inside me. I knew the next moves had to be even smarter, more calculated. By the end of the week, I had already started forming alliances with key players in the business, setting up meetings without Claire or even my parents knowing. Every small victory was a quiet thrill, every progress report a whisper of the payback I was building. I wasn't just earning my own way, I was setting the stage to prove that success without favoritism was more powerful than any inheritance. Claire still laughed, still flaunted, still believed she was untouchable. And I smiled quietly to myself. Let her think she was on top. Let her continue underestimating me. The real game was only just beginning, and when the time came, the tables would turn completely. For weeks, I kept my head down, learning, working, and building. Every move I made was careful, deliberate. And for the first time in years, I felt powerful. Not because of the money itself, but because of the control I was slowly gaining. But then, the tension at home started to thicken. One night at dinner, my father raised his glass of wine and said proudly, "Claire just signed her first property deal. 10 million well invested. She's really proving herself." Claire smirked at me across the table. "Some of us don't need Grandpa's pity projects to succeed." The knife in my hand nearly slipped, but I forced a smile. "Congratulations, Claire. I'm sure Dad's advisors made it easy for you." Her smirk faltered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. "At least I don't need handouts to feel relevant." The words cut deep, but they also fueled me. She thought she was winning. She had no idea that I was already 2 steps ahead. That same week, Grandpa invited me back to his office. He handed me a sealed envelope. "Emily," he said, his tone more serious than ever, "this is something I haven't shared with anyone else, not even your parents. Your grandmother and I set up a trust years ago. It's worth far more than the $10 million your parents gave Claire. And when the time is right, it will be yours." My heart pounded in my chest. More than $10 million? My parents had always made me feel like the lesser daughter, the one who didn't deserve a dime. But here was Grandpa, giving me not just money, but justice. Still, he leaned closer, his sharp eyes locking with mine. "This isn't about revenge, Emily. This is about proving that character and discipline are worth more than entitlement. You must not let anger cloud your judgment." I nodded, but inside, a storm was brewing. How could I not want revenge when Claire and my parents had humiliated me over and over again? That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. My mind replayed every cruel laugh, every dismissive word, every moment they made me feel invisible. And slowly, a plan began to take shape. But before I could act, the first real shock came. One morning, Claire barged into my room without knocking. She waved her phone in my face. "So this is what you've been doing? Secret meetings? Emails with investors? Who do you think you are, Emily? You can't just steal the spotlight from me." I froze for a moment, then calmly pushed her phone away. "You shouldn't eavesdrop, Claire. It's not very classy." Her face turned red with fury. "You think you're smarter than me? Dad gave me $10 million because he knows I'm the capable one. You're nothing but Grandpa's charity case." I laughed, a sound that even surprised me. "If you really believed that, Claire, you wouldn't be so afraid of what I'm building." For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame shook. That moment told me everything I needed to know. Claire was scared. And fear made people reckless. 2 days later, my parents confronted me in the living room. My mother's tone was sharp, my father's face stern. "Emily, your sister tells us you've been meddling with Grandpa's affairs. Is this true?" I looked straight at them, refusing to flinch. "I'm not meddling. I'm working. Something you never thought I was capable of." My father's jaw tightened. "Don't get clever with me. You'll never match Claire's potential. Accept your place, Emily." For years, I would have swallowed those words and retreated. But not anymore. Instead, I smiled coldly. "We'll see." As I walked away, my chest burned with adrenaline. The battle lines were drawn now. Claire was watching me like a hawk. My parents were growing uneasy. And Grandpa had placed a crown in my hands. The only question left was, would I wear it with grace, or with vengeance? By now, the tension at home was palpable. Every glance, every word from Claire or my parents carried an unspoken accusation, a silent challenge. And I welcomed it. For the first time, I wasn't the overlooked daughter, I was a threat, quietly building power while they underestimated me. Grandpa had given me more than just wealth, he had given me strategy. Every day, I executed small moves that gradually shifted control in my favor. I started attending investor meetings with my grandfather, sometimes alone, sometimes with him subtly in the background, watching how I handled negotiations, how I carried myself. With each step, I grew more confident, more assertive, and more dangerous. Meanwhile, Claire's arrogance became her weakness. She flaunted her wealth, posted videos online of lavish purchases, and boasted about deals she had closed with my parents' money. Every post, every boast, gave me the leverage I needed to manipulate public perception and insider connections without her noticing. Then came the turning point. Grandpa handed me another folder, this one containing documents revealing how Claire had been mismanaging part of her $10 million inheritance. Miscalculations, hasty investments, and extravagant spending had put her fortune at risk. And yet, she remained oblivious. I smiled as I read the documents. The pieces were finally falling into place. I didn't just want to succeed, I wanted to expose Claire's recklessness, to show my parents, and the world, that I was the one capable of real, lasting success. The opportunity presented itself at a family gathering. Claire was flaunting her newest purchase, a rare, luxury sports car. I arrived late, calm, composed, carrying my grandfather's documents, ready for the confrontation that had been simmering beneath the surface for weeks. "Emily," Claire said with a forced smile, "what have you been up to all this time? Still relying on Grandpa's charity?" I held her gaze. "Actually, Claire, I've been managing investments, building partnerships, and reviewing the very fortune you've been squandering." Her smile faltered. "What are you talking about?" I opened the folder on the table. The documents detailed her financial missteps, investments that would fail within months, and purchases that were purely extravagant. "These are your own choices," I said, my voice calm but sharp. "And unless someone guides you, you'll lose it all." Claire's face turned pale. She stammered, trying to defend herself, but the evidence was undeniable. Every reckless decision, every careless spending habit, was laid bare. The room went silent. My parents' faces shifted from smugness to shock, then to unease. I pressed further. "And that's why Grandpa entrusted me with guidance and strategy. Unlike you, Claire, I take responsibility seriously. Unlike you, I build, I plan, and I secure the future." The humiliation on her face was exquisite. She had always looked down on me, always assumed she was untouchable. But now, under the scrutiny of family, friends, and the truth, her arrogance crumbled. Over the next 48 hours, the fallout was dramatic. My parents, stunned by the clear contrast between Claire's recklessness and my competence, began consulting me for financial advice. Claire, once confident and untouchable, was reduced to defensive explanations and desperate justifications. I didn't gloat openly. I let the silence, the evidence, and the results speak for themselves. Every time Claire tried to assert dominance, I responded with measured calmness, showcasing my strategic foresight. By the end of the week, my position was solid. I wasn't just earning my own way, I had established authority, credibility, and control. Claire, once the golden child, was now scrambling to recover what she had carelessly risked. And my parents? They were finally forced to recognize that my achievements were real, hard-earned, and far more substantial than any gift could provide. The sweet taste of vindication didn't come from riches alone, it came from proving, with undeniable evidence, that I was the capable, intelligent, and strategic one in the family. I had turned the tables, and every member of my family could see it. That night, I stood in the study, reviewing the final reports of Claire's investments, and smiled. I had not only earned respect, but I had also shown that perseverance, intelligence, and patience were worth far more than blind favoritism or inherited wealth. And as I looked at Grandpa, who gave me this chance, I realized something profound. Revenge isn't just about retaliation, it's about proving your worth and reclaiming your power. After the showdown, the atmosphere at home changed dramatically. Claire avoided eye contact with me, her arrogance replaced with unease. My parents, once dismissive, now looked at me with a mixture of admiration and reluctant respect. I could see it in their eyes. They finally realized that success earned through determination and strategy far outweighed any handed-down fortune. Grandpa, ever calm, sat back with a faint smile. "Emily," he said, "you've proven yourself. Not just in wealth, but in character. You've shown them that power isn't inherited, it's earned." I nodded, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt in years. This wasn't just about money. It was about justice, respect, and validation, the things I had long been denied. Over the next few weeks, I solidified my position. I expanded the business ventures Grandpa entrusted to me, forming partnerships that multiplied my influence and wealth. The $10 million my parents gave Claire became a cautionary tale. She mismanaged her inheritance and relied on shallow appearances, while I was building a lasting legacy. The mansion that once felt like a battleground for favoritism now became my sanctuary. I redecorated the rooms with a touch of elegance and practicality, each detail a reflection of my hard work, taste, and vision. Every corner reminded me that I had turned neglect into opportunity. Claire's attempts to regain control failed spectacularly. She sought advice, tried to assert influence, but her credibility had crumbled. Every decision she made was now scrutinized by investors, by family, and most importantly, by me. And I, calm and composed, watched as the tables turned. But this wasn't about petty revenge, it was about proving that wisdom, patience, and strategy could outperform privilege. I reveled quietly in my victories, enjoying the subtle satisfaction of seeing those who underestimated me face the consequences of their arrogance. One evening, as I reviewed my portfolio and the expansion plans, I realized just how far I had come. From being overlooked and underestimated, I had risen to a position where my wealth, influence, and respect were undeniable. I had transformed every slight, every moment of neglect, into fuel for my success. Yet, beyond the numbers and the power, the real triumph was personal. I had earned the confidence that comes from proving myself, the serenity of knowing my achievements were my own, and the thrill of outmaneuvering those who doubted me. Grandpa's final words echoed in my mind: money can be given, but respect, power, and legacy must be earned. You've done more than just claim what is yours, you've surpassed expectations. As I sat in the quiet of the mansion, overlooking the city lights, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The struggle, the conflict, the cunning maneuvers, it had all led to this moment. I was in control, financially independent, and emotionally stronger than ever before. And while Claire and my parents were still adjusting to the new reality, I had learned the ultimate lesson: true power isn't about inheritance or favoritism, it's about resilience, intelligence, and the courage to seize your own destiny. I leaned back in my chair, a small smile forming on my lips. This was just the beginning. I knew that wealth and influence could open doors, but it was my strategy, my patience, and my unwavering focus that had built a legacy no one could take away. And if anyone doubted me, anyone who ever thought I was the lesser child, they now understood: underestimating me was their greatest mistake. I raised a glass of champagne quietly in my study, toasting myself, my grandfather, and the lessons hard-earned through struggle. This was more than triumph. It was vindication, empowerment, and a clear reminder that no favor, no inheritance, and no judgment could define my worth. And as the night fell, I whispered to myself with a confident smile, "Let the world watch. I've earned everything, and I'm just getting started."